then. Next, to, has Summer McCambridge come? No. So, Wilding Park Foundation, Tim Shannahan. God, you get around.
I do.
How many?
I'm not talking to you about the stadium, at least.
No, actually, well, I suppose that it makes sense. You play football in the winter and tennis in the summer.
Something like that. Sometimes. Thank you for the opportunity again. So, Wilding Park Foundation is the assets entity for the sport of tennis in Christchurch. Currently, Wilding Park is the facility it owns, and as most of you would be well aware, if not all of you, obviously damaged in the earthquakes. And because the land is owned by the sport, it's one of those tough circumstances where it's not a simple decision to simply move to another site and rebuild. You've got to take into consideration the land ownership and what the true opportunities are, and that takes longer. So tennis has been in a difficult position where it hasn't had the opportunity to move forward as quickly as it would have liked. It's still considering a number of options. In the submission, we actually identified that there was a preference for development at Hagley Park and the United Hagley Park Tennis Club that's there. There has been a lot of discussions in the last couple of months with council staff, and it's been identified that for various reasons that may not be a possibility. So when coming to the table today, we acknowledge that part of our submission is probably morphing as we go along, and it might be that Wilding Park and Napoonawai are the logical solutions moving forward. I guess with regard to that, all we want is ongoing dialogue, transparency in our dialogue with the council staff, so that we make the right decisions, because when we decide to reinstate Wilding Park or move the facilities at Wilding Park somewhere else, that's a decision that we've got to live with for a long time. So we want to make sure that we're making informed decisions, and it's not just about what's best for tennis, but it's what's best for the city. Because the city is a vested partner in every sports organisation and what it is delivering. So that's the first part, that we're just asking that there is ongoing engagement, and we would be happy to engage not only with the staff but with councillors as you deem and feel is appropriate. The other component of it is, in the same way that the council supports every sport, whether it's with the maintenance of the grass fields, there has historically been support for the maintenance of certain tennis facilities, in particular Wilding Park around the city. And understandably, when that facility was damaged in the earthquakes and the number of courts reduced, it made sense to reduce the amount of funding. But now that we're back to numbers that are at pre-earthquake levels in terms of Wilding Park having the 6 indoor courts, it has the required 12 courts for major tournaments and for use for the local interclub. We'd like to see that partnership continues. I think it's important that I make it clear, we're not coming to the table with a sense of entitlement. We're not saying we used to get 75, we want to see a continuation of 75, but we do feel that there is strategy documents within council that say council has a responsibility to support the various sports codes and engages with those and invests in those to ensure that all residents of Christchurch can engage in their chosen sport. And the costs of maintaining Wilding Park are significantly greater than the amount that was provided on an annual basis, but it certainly was a contribution that had meaning to the sport of tennis and made it more sustainable to look after that facility, in particular the indoor facility, and ensure that we maintain facilities that were of benefit to the people of Christchurch. We just have to look at the fact that Tennis New Zealand has in the last couple of years made it clear they want to bring all of their Winter Davis Cup ties to Christchurch. We had Chinese Taipei last year. We're going to have a tie against India in July of this year. Clearly that facility is key to the ability to do that. It wouldn't happen otherwise. It's a facility that has some significant capital maintenance costs, and we'd like to think that council would want to continue to partner on that, and that is what we're hoping can continue as a result of this. The funding was coming through the Strengthening Communities. We've heard previous submissions from people saying that money still needs to be there to support various community groups, and I agree with that wholeheartedly, and I would hope moving forward that tennis can continue to have support from council, both financially but also in terms of helping it come through the difficult time it's been in of late with a good solution in terms of the long life facilities required for the sport locally.
Very good. Do I have any questions? Jimmy and Paul.
One question, because you are aware, long-term plan at the moment, council is show for the funding, but regarding to several category, based on your the point of view, how to kind of prioritize. For instance, like damaged infrastructure, sweet waters, the damaged roading, and also community facility and sports and reserve, the kind of maintenance, and also the anchor project. How do you to prioritize?
Brilliant question, but the only answer I'm going to offer, and all of you would have put in a lot more time on contemplating that than me, so please take this as a layperson's response at best. Prior to the earthquake, residents of Christchurch were paying rates, and those rates were applied to different community activities that benefited the well-being and the lifestyle of everybody in Christchurch. You have the challenge right now as councillors to identify, with the rates you're now receiving, what are you going to prioritise for earthquake recovery, and what are you going to put towards the continuation of lifestyle and well-being in Christchurch? And I guess that's where we're coming from. We're not saying that the needs of tennis or any other sport has a higher priority than the rebuild and putting infrastructure back in place, but there is still an obligation, and you'd like to think a responsibility, to ensure a quality lifestyle for the people of Christchurch, and that's where this fits.
Paul?
Mine's more just to thank you for the work you're doing in the Wilding Foundation, but I also just want to point out, from an East perspective, we're pleased that you're still there. And we've seen a lot of stuff move to the south, and personally I'd be concerned that tennis pulled stumps and went to Napunawai and left the east.
I think that's cricket that Paul stumps. Oh, sorry.
Councillor, I can just clarify. I'm Lindsay North. I'm the chairman of the Wilding Park Foundation. We're not leaving Wilding Park, at least not in the immediately foreseeable future. We've just spent a whole heap of money getting it up and running, and we're just working through plans at the moment to upgrade it a bit further and increase the outdoor courts from 12 to 16, and hopefully we will do that. So I think you can be reasonably comfortable that we're there for a while. Having said that, we are also committed to other courts elsewhere, and I just wanted to mention the Napunawai facility, which is referred to, because I do understand there's an allocation in the long-term plan for funding for infrastructure and things out there, and we've been involved in a lot of meetings over the last year or two with the Napunawai working group and Becca and so forth. And I do just want to urge Council to keep at it and make that funding available, because that, I think, is an exciting development, not just for tennis, but for other sports and for the city generally, and particularly in that area of the city, which is maybe a bit underrepresented given the population growth. So if you can find some more for infrastructure, then please do, but please don't cut what you've already got.
Yeah. Thank you very much. And I should comment that on the news the other night, I saw it was the centenary of the death of Anthony Wilding, who died in the war after being, quite the handsome tennis star, the multiple winner of Wimbledon, and the comments that were made on the news item was that, perhaps there should be, a movie made of his life, or a play or something dedicated to him, because he was such an extraordinary figure on the world stage. And the fact that he died 100 years ago just recently, I think is worthy of mention. But I was quite moved by the presentation it was a news item, and I was quite surprised and felt bad that I didn't know as much about our local history as I should have. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Right, we're on an adjournment now until 1 o'clock. Thank you very much.